Okay. Well, Ethan, thank you for sitting down to talk to me today about, careers in STEM, your time at Miller Ingenuity, and your experience with the REACH program. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What school you go to, what grade you're in, your interest, personal interest. Doesn't have to be anything about, manufacturing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I am a student going to senior year of Winona Senior High School,
Mhm.
and I am the first batch of REACH students. Uh, as in personal interests, this has always been really up my alley.
Mhm.
REACH, I'm saying, I have interests in just mechanical. As a kid, I always used to take apart my toys
Ah.
when they were broken, which usually ended in a big mess. But
You're supposed to. You're a kid, right?
yeah, uh, I always love figuring out how things tick. So
That makes sense.
factory, seeing the in-depths or how things are made, just right up my alley.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Are you a part of any other organizations or clubs or anything at school, or is this your main
Uh,
focus?
this is my main focus along with schooling. It's a pretty busy thing. I used to be um, before I started Reach. Well, before Reach started. But now it's pretty much schooling and reach
Great. Excellent.
stand focus.
Yeah, yeah. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the REACH initiative is a student-focused project through the Winona Area Chamber of Commerce as well as the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. And it's intended to help bridge the gap between classroom curriculum and local employers. And it's all centered around careers in STEM like science, technology, and engineering and math. And Ethan is in the first group of students at Winona Area High School that is part of this program. So that means that you started it when you were a sophomore. Is that correct? When you applied?
Yes.
Yes.
The application project uh, was basically a three-part thing. It was
Mhm.
they chose a bunch of students, gave us application handouts, I guess you could call them,
Right.
and then of the kids who applied, they chose 30 of us.
Excellent. That's great. Was there anyone at school or anyone at home that kind of pushed you or motivated you to apply for the program, or was it, your personal interest that kind of drove you to apply?
Uh, it was mostly my drive for it, but a lot of people were like, "That sounds like a great idea."
Yeah. So there was a lot of students who were like really
Yes.
jazzed about the program. That's awesome. Yeah.
One thing I found impressive is they specifically geared it towards students who weren't excelling in math and science and that.
Oh.
More towards the students that were excelling into the metals and woodworking classes.
hmm The hands-on
Yep.
work. Yeah. That's great. Um, so what grade are you in now?
I am in 11th going into 12th.
So are you starting 12th
So
like in a couple weeks
this
or a
year.
week? Yeah, excellent, great. So you've gone through a few of the other steps with the program. So after you apply and you were accepted, what came next for you?
Well, like I said, I'm the first batch, so it was a rough road for everyone involved while we figured out the kinks.
Hmm.
Um, if I remember correctly, this was the beginning of last year, so
Mhm.
um, I believe we started off with your workplace skills, like how to get the job, how to sign your resume. Um,
So all the soft skills.
Yes.
needed for the workplace. Was that something that you had knowledge in prior to that, or were you? I mean, obviously you know about like resumes and interviews and stuff
Mhm.
like that, but have you ever experienced like writing your own resume or practicing for interviews or anything like that?
Um, well, I had actually taken a business class before that, so I had learned a bit more in depth, but not how in depth they went.
Mm.
They had brought in people to interview us for mock interviews on a whim's notice. And I remember one assignment they gave us was, I think it was like, right, 200-word assignment on the career you want to get into. So it was a lot of figuring out if you did not know what you wanted, figuring it out in that class.
Oh, that's great. I think that's such a great program and uh, activity for you guys to have done. I mean, I know when I was in school, like I didn't have any classes that prepared you for life. I mean, you pretty much
Hmm.
went from high school classes where you know, the social studies and the English and all that, and then they're like, okay, apply for college, and apply for college, and you know, then it was very focused on the 4 year degree programs. So I didn't really understand that there were other options out there for me, and I'm sure that was the case for a lot of students as well, and maybe it still is. So I think, you know, something like this program is very helpful in that regards, where you know, there's all these jobs out there, the hands-on, you know, the engineering or even like the manufacturing that, you know, are lacking in employers or people to work there. Um, so you went through the soft skills training, which is great. And then did you, I think there's the immersion experiences where you get to visit different
Yep.
places. Where did you get to go?
I believe our first immersion wasn't at a company. The first immersion was at St. Mary's on a ropes course to help build team building within
Oh,
everyone. Um, and that was on the first day of school.
oh, okay.
So, but I believe my first immersion to a company was, oof, oh God, believe Winona Sign and Design.
Okay.
Um, the immersions, the first couple were basically hit and miss on figuring out what the kids liked.
Hmm.
And then after that, they started figuring out what each student was like, and they sent us on immersions towards those interests, which was something I found greatly appreciated.
Right. That's great. Yeah. And when you are um, there on location, do you get
Yes.
to be hands-on when you're visiting?
Of course, it always depends on the company. Some companies have a lot more sensitive materials they're working with or dangerous environments, but they try to keep it as hands-on and interactive as they can.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't think of a good one.
It's okay. No worries. No worries. Um, let's see here. So you went through the immersion program, and then what was the next step after the immersion program?
Well, the merchant program was basically throughout the whole year thing. It was one every month,
Okay.
except for like December and January. So that was just while we were doing immersions, we then started the um, getting into the hands-on stuff, but more blueprint reading. My favorite, which was CAD, uh, computer design,
Hmm.
and then this year we will be starting machining and woodworking and that.
Okay. Does that all take place at your high school, or do you go somewhere else for that that
Yes,
portion.
that all takes place in the high school.
That's great. That's awesome.
We've been lucky enough to have several companies like Fastenal or that get donations from machines,
Mm-hmm.
and then for companies like Miller to do immersions or even have an internship like the one
Right.
I am finishing today.
Yeah. Yes. This is your last day today.
Yes.
Awesome. So, what brought you to Miller? So, did you select the company that you wanted to intern with, or was there? I know that there's a wide selection of places that you could go to. So, what brought you to Miller specifically?
Um, it's actually quite a funny story. I had originally signed up for a third interview, and I was waiting for my third interview, and uh, Ron poked his head out the door, looked at me. I looked at him, and he was like, "Come here." And I had nothing prepared for this interview. So I walked in as bland as you could be for an interview, and it turned out like this. I got the job.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, sometimes it's better to not be, very strictly prepared, when you're more comfortable and going off of your own thoughts and feelings, it kind of comes across more authentic. So I'm sure that's Ron recognized your passion for
Mhm.
what you're so interested in is the engineering side. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So you came to Miller for your internship. When did you start?
Oof. I started about 4 weeks
4 weeks
ago.
ago.
So
Okay, that's great. So take me through like a day to day for you at Miller. What were you typically
oh,
working on?
well, I arrived at 7:30 um, each day, and um, for the first week, they had a schedule for me of where I would be going, which was injection molding.
Mhm.
And I was appreciative that when I first came into this, I was worried that I was going to be treated like a student and taken easy on and not get the full environment that I'm looking for.
Right.
That did not happen. I ended up very sore after the first week of it. They did not hold back. It was definitely a enlightening experience and one I will never forget. It was a lot of fun while making hard that hard work fun.
Right. Yeah. So who did you get to work with during your days at Miller?
Oh, there's so many people. I After about 3 or 4 days in a department, I would be swapped into the next department,
Hmm.
so that I got a good grip on every department here.
Hmm.
And the staff were just amazing and welcoming and took the time with teaching me the basics. And then when they saw I had it down, they treated me like a regular worker.
Yeah.
They were not afraid to point out mistakes, and it felt like I had a normal job and
Mhm.
I was just working. Didn't feel like I was on a internship for Reach, which is what I was looking for.
That's great. I'm glad that you had that experience and you got to touch many different things while you were here with us. That is something I know that everyone in the factory they tend to do that normally. They kind of hop around and work in the different areas. So I'm glad that you got to do that too. Um, did you hear of Miller before? Did you know of Miller before you started with the internship?
I knew a little bit about it, mostly from the immersions.
Mhm.
Sadly, Miller was one of the two companies I did not get to go on an immersion for. So
Yeah. I was
all I
wondering if
knew
you
was that
had, yeah,
was
because I know we've had like many different immersion programs, so I didn't know if you were part of those or not. That's interesting.
No, this is one of the very, very few companies that I had not visited, which made the first day that much more interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's all brand new to you.
Mhm.
um, so we went through your day at Miller and the program itself, and I know you're speaking very highly of the program.
Yeah.
And I know obviously you've enjoyed your time here at Miller, which I'm so happy to hear. What are some what are some things that you are going to take with you? Whether, it's something you've learned with, engineering itself or any of the different areas that you worked on in the factory, or whether it's something personal. What is something that you're going to take away from this internship?
Well, one of the main things I'm gonna take away is, like I was saying before, the workers' environment. I love how at Miller that a lot of the main decisions are decided by the people on the floor, and um, that just amazes me. I didn't expect that. Another thing was the everyone really felt like family. Is I don't think I heard any arguing or anything throughout my entire time here, or they joked around with me, and
Yeah,
that made me feel welcome. So I just mainly how to treat people is how I can sum it up.
that's great. I'm glad that you had that experience because I know, our CEO, Steve, that's one of his main goals, missions for the company is to instill those values into all the employees. So I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear that that's one of your biggest takeaways from the internship. So what's next for you? So you are ending your internship today, and you're starting your senior year. What are your plans? What do you think you're going to be doing? Are you going to attend a specific school? Are you going to take another internship when you graduate, or?
Oh gosh, I've been throwing around a few ideas. One was taking another internship at the end of this year.
Mhm.
Another one was doing my GEDs at the Winona Senior High Tech College. Um, well, I guess it wouldn't be senior high then. Uh, Another one was to go straight to the school I want to go to, which is MCAT up in the cities,
Mhm.
the great private college for design. And I want to be either a graphic designer or a CAD worker. And then I'm planning to get a minor in programming, which should give me a wide variety in job opportunities
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
ever evolving
Yeah, and you
with
want to
the
take that. Sorry, go ahead.
oh sorry with the ever evolving technology industry that is now arriving in our day and age. It's technology is becoming more and more prevalent.
Mhm. It definitely is. And so you think you're going to take that type of programming skills more toward the manufacturing sector, or do you think you'll take it in a different direction?
I sure hope I do a bit of both. Um, I don't know where to go with the programming. The programming is more of a side thing that I hope to do. I don't know if I'm
Mhm.
gonna really pursue it,
Right.
but
Never hurts to
yeah.
have many different skills, because you never know what job you land at, and those skills may be needed. So, well, I am out of questions for today. Do you want to
I,
leave with anything you want to say, or anything you want to add, or that I didn't cover? Or?
oof, I just want to thank Miller Ingenuity for the great opportunity and the great hospitality around the workplace, and for the opportunity. And I hope they continue working with Reach, because I know many, many kids that would love to have the opportunity I had these last few weeks.
Mhm. Well, that's great to hear, and we loved having you. I know Jesse will say the same thing, and we appreciate your time talking to me today.
It was nice talking to you too, Christine.
Thank you.